Well, we're in the messy workshop again. And what are we doing today? Well, I'm going to laser cut some acrylic. To what end, you ask? Well, I've been trying to make a brass medallion for a while since I got my new furnace, and I've made some plaster masters, I've made some acrylic ones, I've made some negative plaster molds which we've got up the back here. So far nothing's really worked. I tried timber and I got some limited results with that. And these are some bits left over from the plaster mold that I baked, but not nearly enough. So I've got a few ideas. I've decided I'm going to go the whole hog and I'm going to make a lost wax cast. So to make a lost wax cast, I'm going to make an acrylic mold, then I'm going to cast candle wax into it. Just that's because that's cheap and easy. It's not really ideal for this, but I've got big containers full of the stuff that I melted from some tearlight candles. And yeah, once I've got that, I'm going to set it in plaster. And I've had practice laser engraving and laser cutting plaster with some success, but I think I'm going to try the lost wax, and that might work well. And that will also allow me to have a pouring sprue and like vents and all that sort of stuff. I've got to learn molding terminology properly now to sound like I know what I'm doing. But yeah, I think I should be able to do that, and that way I can cast probably multiple at a time and have a better chance with the brass. So and this time, rather than bake it in an oven, I'm going to probably burn the wax out, probably on a gas stove or something. I'm a bit limited in high temperatures in terms of actually baking the plaster, so a lot of common practices that are done I can't get away with, so I'm having to improvise a bit. Oh, and a quick side note. You buy one of these Chinese furnaces, the first time you run it, the label's going to burn off. So yeah, if Italy is a part of China, I kind of believe the labels. But anyway, let's start making a wax mold, and I think I'm going to cut myself another phone case while I'm here. Oh, and I spilt wax on my block of wax buffing compound. So yeah. Anyway, let's fire up the laser and get our model lined up. And while it's cutting, I might take some time to clean up my bench. It's just been getting piled up with junk. With all the bushfires and stuff, I've been really neglecting my own stuff. I've been working on everybody else's. So once this crisis passes a bit, there's going to be some major cleanup. So I'm running out of room to do stuff. But all right, let's do a little quick bit of cleanup so I can use the mouse, and we'll get our design loaded up. Alright, so it might be a little noisy in here because I've got the extraction fan running, but this is our mould, and it's going to be 3 parts. Well, actually there's a whole bunch of parts. Anyway, we've got a front sheet and a back sheet that will sandwich together, and then we have a 3mm thick interior here that's in several pieces. So this should form the pouring sprues. I'm a little worried about this being a bit too thin, and so I've put an extra reinforcer in here. The idea with this being is that I can remove the sides carefully without disturbing this, and then I can pick each one of these pieces out one by one carefully, so I should be able to repeatedly use that mold and make several of these, and it should be fairly quick to reassemble. And I'm using 3mm screws to hold everything together, and I'm cutting this piece out here so I can make a relief that is about 1.5mm deep that should accommodate the glow tube that I want to put in here. So we should be pretty good. So let's get this plotted. We'll go and plot to the Mercury 3 with the previous settings. I'll have to line my sheet actually and figure out which orientation this will be in. I might even make myself 2 molds and see how it goes. Now, you know what? Acrylic is actually at a bit of a premium. I think I'm just going to go with 1 for now and see how we go. Alright, so it should be in the correct orientation. Once that plots, I also need to figure out how much material I need overall. So let's have a look here. Our overall length is going to be 190mm. Okay, so it's going to be a little bigger than I thought, but that's alright. Let's find 190mm of acrylic. Okay, so it's quite noisy in here, so I'll speak up and close to the microphone. I've got my mould mostly assembled after being cut. I realised I had the text for the back cut on the wrong side, so I'm just going to cut it with a smooth back, and I'll find a way to get text onto it later. I'm doing this in clear acrylic so that we'll be able to see when the wax flows in, and that will also give me an indication of how the metal might flow. So yeah, I'm going to put some sewing machine oil in here, just a light coating so that the wax doesn't stick, and we're going to put this back on. We'll get it all assembled. But yeah, I'm fighting against the air compressor right now, so we'll cut to when it's quiet. Okay, so our mould is assembled, and I've put some aluminium tape around the top because the 5 packets of blue tack that I bought for this job have gone MIA. I'm pretty sure my apprentice is to blame, but can't verify that yet. Anyway, off camera, behind here, my wax is melting. I'm just about to decant to a smaller container, and then we'll be pouring pretty much right now. So let's see if I can get this pouring in the right spot. I'm a little unco today, and I've got the shakes. And I've got wax pouring out the bottom of the mould. I guess I'll keep pouring it till it solidifies. It's pouring out the screw holes. I'll keep adding. We'll get there. Okay, that's a mould fail. I didn't do the screws up tight enough. I've got a big pool of wax at the bottom. At least wax is not corrosive. Yeah, it looks like the entire mould is going to drain out. I might just let that cool and it might seal it up a little bit. Although it seems it's met. Oh no, the mould is full. It's met a balance here where the pressure has leveled out. So we might just let this cool off a little bit. I can see the bubbles floating up from the bottom. I'm just going to cap this off with a little bit more wax. I might have sealed up the holes. Oh, I see what's happening. It's leaking out under the tape. But that's alright. I've already had lots of wax spilt on this. Let's just let this set on time lapse. Okay, so after all that effort, I found my spare packs of blue tack. That is literally what it's called, blue tack. Now, the wax is setting here, and I'm sorry if it's a bit windy, let's angle that down. The wax has set, but as it's contracted, it's sucked in here a little bit. So, I'll probably have to add a little bit more wax into that. But I'll let everything else solidify properly first. I might get away with removing the top layer, but having a good look down here, if you guys can see, I think it's pulled in a significant way, and I need to form that sprue in the plaster properly. So yeah, I might just pour a little bit more wax in there, but I'll do that in a bit once everything's finished contracting and cooling. Hopefully I should be able to fill that gap. So yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how this comes out. Looking through the back here, it does seem to have filled the detail nicely. And doing this in clear acrylic was actually a really nice way and makes it film very well, but it's also a lot easier for me to see before I open the mould. And for the record, this little bridge across here, I'm going to snip that off once I've got it, but that's purely there to support it so it doesn't break off this when we pull it out. So yeah, I wanted that to stay fairly sturdy until it was ready to go into the plaster. So yeah, alright, I'm going to let this cool off. In the meantime, I've got a phone case to build, so I'll do that and we'll be back. Okay, so I've left everything set overnight. And rather than top this up with wax, I figure I'm going to pull this out, use it as a test, and I'm going to refill it properly the second time, because I'll probably have to make more than one anyway. So this will be just a learning experience. Where I've put the tape here, that was for the little knob to make the relief for the tritium tube. But yeah, so this is test project, and I don't have the text on the back of this one. So let's see. Looks like the oil's done its job and let it release cleanly. Now let's see if I can lift the other side off. I'm going to use a little spatula to separate those two. It would appear that there's a little bit of surface tension or suction involved from the oil I've used as a mold release. There we go. Slot that in there. We'll separate these two apart. I can't slide this off sideways because I don't want to damage the relief. Let's see how this comes away. Well, it's come away cleanly. Well, it looks like the object's nice. I realise the mistake I've made now in the relief anyway. I'm glad I'm not going to cast this. That relief needs to be in the opposite direction, so I'll have to do a little bit of thinking about how I'm going to make that happen. But now, here's the crucial bit. It looks like my top block has removed nicely. The idea now is to get this middle section out. Well, okay, it's going to drop out without any intervention anyway. So this is where we break stuff. I'm going to use my fingers, even though my dexterity is not great. Now, laser's cut with a bit of a taper, so it's finding the direction that it will push out in. Okay, alright. So as expected, it has broken in, it's fractured in a couple of places there, but that would work relatively well. I'm pretty sure I could fix that with a little bit of heat. In fact, being as this is a practice piece, we're going to have a try at doing exactly that. Alright, so I fired up the exhaust fan. I've got my soldering iron. I'm going to use that just while it's still heating up. And I'm just going to reheat some of the wax here. Just ever so gently. I'll let it cool and then I'll flip over and try and re-weld from the back as well. Alright. Just really quickly. Alright, and then my soldering iron's smoking from the wax. I'll get some solder and I'll re-tin the iron just to help prevent any sort of corrosive effects on the tip. And this is flux core solder, so rather than having to dip into flux and clean it, this is my poor man's bucket of flux. And I'll let it all suck up through the exhaust fan. Alright, so that looks to have cooled. We'll have a close look in a moment. Okay, I appear to have ants crawling off everything. We have concrete ants in our house, or in our yard, and they've taken over literally everything. Alright, so that looks like an interesting design, but yes, of course, I can't use that mold. I'll have to cut another one of these and set it forward a little bit. I have an idea on how I might do that. For now, I'm just going to make a quick little modification and shave this off. We're not going to use this to make a plaster mold today. I'm just learning. But in this video, you might see the next attempt. Okay, so that gives us a bit of an idea of what our medallion will look like. I'm feeling quite confident as this detail has actually stayed there, so I'm not so worried about it having been a shallow relief, although I think I will engrave that a little more slowly next time and make a little bit more of an impression. But yes, that looks like this method might actually work. So yeah, alright, I'm going to design another mold and we'll see how that goes. Oh yes, the other thing that we'll probably do is, support is only here for the handling of this bit. Once it actually goes in the plaster, we'd be snipping that bit off. Otherwise it would compromise our airflow. Alright, so I've had a bit of a think before I go and cast another one. I'm modifying this mold here. I've actually just pushed my little stopper through and dropped a bit of super glue in there. And I'm using blue tack to hold it till it dries. that should create a positive imprint into the wax, which should create a recess for the tube. In the meantime, I'm going to modify my existing mold and see if I can make room for the tube. And I'm going to yawn in the background. Now I'm going to work under a microscope here, and we'll switch to that footage in a moment. Let's have a look at my tube recess right here. I want to make this deep enough that I can insert the tube without it protruding too far from the front, because we don't really want it to get broken. So let's go over to the microscope footage. Somewhere about now. Right, we'll do that picture-in-picture for a moment, and we'll swing this camera around so that you can see what I'm doing from the back. So from here, I really want to work from this end here, although I think that this might be a little bit too big for the task. But I'm trying to just really gouge out this little bit of wax here and get it in a little bit. Can I see what I'm doing here? Yep. Just working very gently because this is a very soft wax. It's candle wax after all. So shave just the tiniest bit out at a time. And I have some dexterity today because I've been inside sheltering from the heat, and decided to really avoid doing too much for the evacuees today because it's starting to cause me some injury. Let's turn this around a bit. Where are we here? And now we'll just bring that along a little bit as well. Just run it along the edge. This is going to be a rough one. I really hope this works. I'll be disappointed if I go to all this effort and my mold fails. There's a bit of junk in the wax there. Alright, that looks like a little bit of paper off the original laser mold. Right, let's get my tweezers here and we'll test fit this tube in. Normally I'd use wooden tweezers for this. Let's test fit this, see if she drops in. There's a bit of cling from the wax. That's going to sit in there kind of nicely. And I think with a little bit of glue or a bit of resin around that, it should show through okay. And that also gives you a good look at a tritium gas tube up close. Let's actually zoom right in, if I can come in with the zoom knob here. Where is my zoom knob now? Let's come in a bit. I'll bring this up a little bit. I'll see if I can bring it all the way up. I need to take loosen another adjustment. It'll be blurry for a moment, guys. Just hang fire with me a minute. Alright. So this is a tritium gas tube up close, by the way. So you can see a couple of inclusions in the glass there, but you can see the thickness of the glass are followed by some phosphorus on the inside there, or a phosphor coating. And see, we can really barely see the tip of my tweezers here. Some of what we think are inclusions are probably just wax stuck on there. But then we can see the phosphor on the inside, and inside the next layer under the phosphorus is tritium gas. And it's slightly radioactive, and that is, the particles are striking that phosphor, causing it to glow. So now I need to extract my tube here. I'm just going to push it out slightly, and then I'm going to pick it up with the tweezers gently. And from there, I'm going to drop it back into the plastic bag, and then again into its enclosure, because we really don't want to lose that. Alright, so time to turn off picture-in-picture. Alright, so look, I think that will fit nicely with that modification, and from there I think I'm going to try and cast it in some plaster, see how bad I can fail. Before I do that though, I'm going to reassemble my mold and make a couple more wax casts and see how we go from there. Where's my release knob? Because it's worth me doing several at once if I'm going to cast this. Alright. Let's turn our microscope off, and we'll go and reassemble our mold. Alright, well I have my mold reassembled. I'll put some screwdrivers away. Alright, So last time I did this, I used aluminium tape because I couldn't find my blue tack. Well, I found like 4 packets, 5, 6 packets of it stashed away. So we're going to use some blue tack here for the pouring guide. I've got to learn some proper moulding terminology. In fact, I know it, but it never comes out of my mouth when I'm doing unscripted videos like this. So I'm going to make a pouring sprue out of blue tack here. I'll get a couple of packets going here, or a couple of strips, and we'll pour it straight into the top here. And that should allow me to keep a bit of a head on it so that when it cools, the contraction doesn't suck air into it like it did with the other one. And I know this is a little hard to film me doing this if I want good results. But we'll get a little bit of a funnel happening like that. And then we'll make sort of a second one around the other side. And that should make it a little easier to pour. And we won't have it flowing down the outside of the mould this time. Right, so I'll make another one of them and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're set up dangerously close this time, actually on the anvil section of the vise. But I've got a new acrylic cover for my phone set up instead of the wooden one. So the wax is not going to be so much of a problem. And I'm going to have a drink from behind here as well while I wait. The wax is just melting down a bit. I've got a sizable block on there this time. And I'll be decanting a little bit out into this, which you can't see here, this little measuring cup. And hopefully it should pour a little bit better this time. I think I've got enough wax melted here to do the job. So I'm going to decant what I do have melted and then pour it. But because I have to do all that in a single run, I don't have time to actually push the record button. It's worth noting at the moment that I also have bare feet, and I don't really want to get scalded, so I'm not going to pour this on my feet. So let's get in the way of the light source here and we'll pour this in. Right, and I like how, and this is again leaking out the bottom, let's squeeze the vise shut a little bit more. I like how it did let the air out, which is nice. I'm hoping that the wax as it cools will plug the hole a bit. Where exactly are you leaking? I'm just going to do the vise up quite tight at risk of cracking the mould. But we'll just keep topping it up. Maybe if I hold it with my finger, I'll get wax all over my glove. Yeah, it's slowing down a little bit. I'll let it cool off. I'll let the pressure drop in the mould slightly. And hopefully that drip at the bottom will seal up. At this point I'm going to time lapse everything. Alright, it's been a couple of hours now. I went next door to have a chat to all the old blokes that I talk to at a regular basis. Wealth of knowledge in that room. But I'm going to try and pick all the wax out of this so I can reuse my pouring blue tack. Try and reuse as much stuff as I can. Fortunately, it looks like wax is not going to stick too heavily to blue tack, which is surprising, as it pretty well sticks to everything pretty well. Alright, this is all dried off. I'm a little tired, but you know what, I think we're going to produce a bunch of these and try and make a big master mold where I get 4 or 5 of them and maximize my chances of getting a successful one if I can. So I'm going to dismantle this, reload it and stick another one in. So we'll be back shortly, but before we go, I did gauge the contraction a little bit better this time, and yeah, it hasn't leaked all the way through. And I think I found out where my leak of wax was. It was down the side here, so it wasn't leaking out of the mold, it was leaking from under the blue tack. That one's an easy one to fix. Alright, so at this point I'm now attaching all of these to try and make a common stem. I think the jewelers call this a tree. So yeah, I'm working with a soldering iron that's at solder temperature, so I've got to be really quick when I work with this stuff. But I'm trying to just fuse all this together just gently. So I'm just working very carefully with the soldering iron and extremely quickly. Little chunks of wax as I shave them off, and should have a common vent. I really should have thought about the way I was putting the sprue together when I first did this, but we'll get there in the end. So yeah, working with wax is quite a skill, and I'm kind of learning as I go here, but it seems to be a skill that I'm able to pick up relatively quickly. So this sprue's not going to be perfect, but I hope it will do. Things are starting to go together fairly solidly, but this is not wax that's designed for this task, and it is a little brittle to work with, so I'm doing my best. And I think I'm going to befoul my favourite toaster oven that we haven't used in a couple of years to do this, rather than the kitchen oven, for which I will be reprimanded severely for. Yep. Just getting this all in. Right, it's almost ready for plaster. Plaster's going to take a day or two. So this could become a multi-part video. I think I might even set the plaster on this, and then I don't know, I want to pour the brass in the next day or two. So I might suck it up and just wait. I do have some other unreleased videos to do in the meantime. I can edit those while the plaster's setting. I'm going to let this wax cool well and truly before I try and move it. And I might bring the pre-mixed plaster here, as I don't want to risk messing up my clean area. But yeah. Alright, let's go and get plaster. Okay, so I have my wax tree extracted from the table. It's not the cleanest, but I hope it will work in the plaster. I will be trimming these off. I've left this at such an angle that I can trim these off above the surface of the plaster. So hopefully it doesn't congest those vents. But it is working, and I'm being extremely delicate with this. I don't want to break it. You'll notice I've done numerous repairs where these have fallen out, but I'm hoping this works. So next step is plaster. Right, so I'm going to bash my head against the desk. I was trimming the corners off here in order to make it fit my bucket, and I dropped it. So back to the soldering iron I go, but this time it's going to be a little more difficult. But we'll see how we go. Okay, I got it back together again, and I just friggin' broke it a second time. Yay. Okay, so I'm back at my desk, and I've got to wait. I'm waiting for plaster to set. Now, in the process of getting plaster in the mold, I broke the wax master again. Frustratingly, so I'm going to have 2 shots at this instead of 3 like I'd hoped. And I've got a gigantic Milo tin full of plaster, a bag and a half of plaster. It's every last bit I have left until I can get to the shops again, and I won't have money for that for another week. So it's going to see. I'm going to have to cut the tin open to use it, and it's only just going to fit in the toaster oven. There's a lot of fair boundaries in this, but as is the learning process. So yeah, I've got a bit of time to kill waiting for the plaster to set. I'm going to try not to think about casting in the meantime. Alright, so about 3 or 4 days have passed since we last poured this plaster. Apparently Milo is good hot or cold, so we can take the top off here, and we see our cast. This is about 1.5 bags of plaster. And while I was trying to get my tree in here with the 3 moulds in there, one of them busted off. So the 3 masters is what I meant to say. One of them busted off, so I've only got 2 in here now. And these are the vents popping up here. And this is the main inlet. So yeah, it's probably a little bit shallower than I'd hoped. But I'm going to try and neaten this up and see what I can do with it. And then I've got to come up with a way of baking the wax out of this without stinking out the house or the workshop. Not sure how, and in a total fire ban day, I'm not sure I can stick it on the fire. So we'll have a think and see what we come up with. Alright, so I'm trying a real cheap and dirty trick. I've put it upside down on the gas flame. And occasionally a little bit of wax comes out and flares out. And what I just heard in the background was my UPS kicking in and out. I'd better go check out what that's about. So the power blip was nothing to worry about. I've now got the flame up at full tilt because, well, this is an experiment, I guess. I hope my mould doesn't explode. But I'm going to leave this go for a bit and we'll come back. Sounds like my dinner's ready anyway. Alright, well, I'm having to take some time off doing the casting stuff at the moment. The smoke is so thick I can't see to the other side of the block at the moment in town, and the predicted wind change hasn't come through. It's a total fire ban day. As you can probably hear from my throat, being outside's not great right now. So yeah, I'm going to have to wait a few days. I've already waited 2 days since the last clip that you saw, so we'll get to pouring this brass sooner or later. For you guys, you'll see it fairly soon. For me, I'm going to have to wait until the air clears up. And as you can probably hear in the background, my apprentice is a little stir crazy as well. So yeah, well, we'll get through this soon enough. Alright, so it's been about a week since the last clip. Had time to have some rest. You can probably still hear in the distant background there's aircraft and stuff going on. There's still bushfire problems. I'm pretty sure that's a Chinook we can hear. Yep, I'll go have a quick look. That would actually be the search and rescue helicopter. Didn't quite sound like a Chinook. In any case, there's still bushfire stuff going on. The weather's been very hot, I've been very tired, and it would appear that I've developed sciatica as well, which has made walking difficult. Good news is that's not MS. Well, the reason I'm mentioning all of this, well, it's taken my attention off this project, and I know there's 2 parts behind this and everybody's really interested, so I think it's about time we actually pour some brass. Now, I fired this a bit, and I'm not sure if I've got it strictly dry enough. There's a whole heap of plaster in here. I have melted it all, left it sitting upside down after I cooked it. I haven't oven fired it, so I don't know how well this is going to work. I am, however, going to put an aluminium ring over here to make a pouring sprue, and try and get a little bit of hydraulic pressure in here, in the hope that it comes up here. I'm hoping any extra gas that comes off this should come up through those as well. And hopefully not eject everything out of the mold, because I don't like being covered in hot brass. So yeah, I'm going to get everything set up, and I'm going to get my furnace warming up. Now these furnaces seem to age very quickly. This is the 3rd time I'm using it, and now I can hear the coils vibrating and humming at 50 Hertz because we're in Australia. But we've got our brass already loaded in here. This is the stuff I've melted previously. There should be enough, I hope. I'll get this positioned properly so that I can shut the lid without consequence, and things will expand anyway. Alright, so that's going to warm up. That'll take a while. I'm going to prep my mould in the meantime and put a bit of blue tack down here to stop it sliding off the vise, and we'll take the flammable stuff off the side. Alright, I'm going to use 2 hands and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm doing a little bit of behind the scenes stuff here. I'm just getting my sprue, or header I think is probably what you call this, all this sorted, working out my camera angle, making sure I've got my squeezy bottle full of water. I might top that up. Got my tools all laid out, stuff to do while I'm waiting. And it looks like we're at 200 degrees. One of the things I think I made a mistake in last time, as well, the thermostat here said 11 or 1076 Celsius. I think the problem is that the temperature sensor is at the bottom of this. Now that could indicate that it's much higher temperature at the top, but I poured pretty much as soon as it hit that temperature. It might have been that the actual body of metal hadn't reached that temperature yet. So I'm going to wait a little longer this time and just let everything come to sort of a normal equilibrium. I'm going to hang up my shifter while I don't forget. I think I'm also going to try and improvise a scraper and try and scrape the slag off the top. Not sure how I'm going to do that. I would use an old spoon, but we don't have any old ones left. So I'll come up with something. Well, I guess we're starting to get a little warm now. Normally I check under the lid, but I'm not going to bother. And we're getting to about 580 Celsius. Give it a little bit longer and we'll be starting to be molten. I've looked at various options to creating a spoon to scoop slag off the top. I'm not sure if I can come up with anything at this point. I'm a little unprepared. What I might do is I'm going to pour a little bit over into this pot, just the top bit, in the hope that some of the slag comes off. I've got far more than I need in the crucible, and so once I've done that, then I'll pour a little bit there. I'm just going to try and make sure that I can cover this up so I can put the flames out without having to be too timely about it. Well, I've just put a little bit of air pressure through these galleries, and I'm getting air out of this first one. The second one I'm not, which probably means there's still a smidgen of wax in there. So this is going to be a little interesting. I'm not confident that this is going to work, but it's also only my 3rd attempt. I'm using a few of the techniques I've already learned, so at the very least I hope this will be a learning experience. And we'll see if the aluminium melts too, but melting temperature is fairly close, so I probably shouldn't, but we'll find out, I guess. Looks like our furnace is at about 700 Celsius. It's just clicked over that now. So a few more minutes. Alright, so I've just had hit crash zone a little bit with the MS. I'm suddenly very tired, so I've got to be extra careful now. Turning on my exhaust fan. We've hit about 980 degrees. So I'm going to see if anything's sort of shuffling down on the crucible yet. It might still be solid at the top and starting to just liquefy at the bottom. I'm going to use my handy dandy coatanger technology and we'll see how we go. We've certainly got some red on the crucible. Yeah, it's not falling down quite just yet. I'll give it a bit longer. Right. I'll try again in a few minutes. Right, so we're now hitting the thermostat, cutting in and out, so I think that's its max temperature right now. Time to suit up, as they would say on Friends. Now I've got some polarizers on under my safety goggles this time, so hopefully that will help a little bit. Again, I'm not really dressed for this. I really should be doing more for safety, but I guess it'll make a good video. Yeah, so I need to poke some of this stuff down from the top. Let's have a peek in there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's not molten yet. Taking breath and holding my breath when I'm leaning over, because this gas ain't real good for you. Alright. That's going to need to sit there for a bit. Some of the chunks that were still at the top of the crucible had sort of twisted and jammed in the crucible. I've aligned them now, they've dropped into the molten pool. I'm just going to leave it sit until things properly liquefy. I'll give it a few more minutes. Everything seems to be up to temperature. I'm really hoping I'm in the right direction, because these polarizers are at 90 degrees to my screen, or to the viewfinder at least, and I can't see what's going on. Doesn't look like there's too much slag in the top, and I'm going to skip that process for now, because I'm not sure how this wax is going to go. But let's have a crack at this and see how we go. It's going to be take 3. Alright. Moment of truth. You can see a little better with the polarizers. Let's pour gently. Bubbling is what I didn't want. And the aluminium melted through. Let's just pour the whole lot in here and get out of the way. Alright. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to throw a bit more brass in. Oh, there goes one of the heavy lift aircraft. Oh, that's an Aussie blank. I think I'll keep that one. Okay. Close this lid. And we might put the flames out. Where are we? Now let's have a bit of a look here. Well, it looks like it came out one of the galleries, or that might be molten aluminium. Might not have gone into the galleries at all. Well, this pour certainly went better, and the Polaroid certainly helped. So yeah, we'll let this cool off and we'll be right back. Alright, so I've just taken the header off briefly. It doesn't look like it actually penetrated very far into the mould. I'm still actually seeing bubbles come through as I push the water up and down. So I think there might not be anything in here. It certainly hasn't come up out the other end. So I might be back to the drawing board. I'm certainly going to need more plaster. I've got none of that left. But there's something that feels a bit solid in there. I don't think there's any brass in there. I don't think so. We're going to crack this open anyway, because she's shagged regardless. So let's go and hit this with a hammer. Well, after busting the mould open, this is all we had in there. But a little bit of metal did actually flow in there, and it flowed through that tiny little cavity. I did find through breaking it open that huge block of plaster was very wet inside. I think that had something to do with it. On the plus side, we did have sort of some success, a little bit. Learning a little bit each way we go. Certainly these channels need to be a whole lot bigger. So I think I'm going to look carefully when I cast my mould, and I think I might aim for a thicker end product as well. I'm also going to go back to my MDF idea. I think I can modify that knowing what I know now. I might be able to do it, although the moulds will be sacrificial each time, but I think I can get away with doing that. So yeah, a couple of things learnt out of this experiment. I'm going to end this video here, by the way. But the things I've learnt from attempt number 3 is that I need bigger channels. I need to dry my moulds far more, or for a far greater time. I need to wait for the metal to heat up a little bit more. And also, if I melt it down from brass, pour it and then remelt it and remove the crappy bits from it, I get a much cleaner brass. So yeah, we might be on the road to success, but unfortunately not this time. But we'll try again very soon.